Hello and welcome, all of you lovely people that are joining me for this next review, proudly sponsored by Banzai Hobby. Today I'll be looking at Gundam markers. Now, this is my first crack at Gundam markers. This is the basic set, I believe they call it. We'll put a link to the item you can purchase from Banzai Hobby in the description. There are actually quite a range of these now, but it's meant to be a more simple method for you to add color or, like a bit of difference to your Gunpla kit. Without, an airbrush, hand painting, anything like that, because what you get is a marker, and this is the blue one, GM06, and you'll hear, when you shake it, it's actually full of paint in here. Now, from what I understand, it's actually a lacquer paint that's in these pens. And what you get when you open up, got a bit of blue on myself, is a tip like that. Now, when you open one up that you haven't actually tried yet, you'll see the tip's white. Now, the way these work is you got to shake them for a little while, get the paint nice, and because the thinner and paint would have separated in the tube. You shake them up. I recommend shaking them up like this so as not to be pouring paint straight down if you shake them upside down. And then when you press, the paint runs into the nib, and they're quite... you'll see it's quite a thick, it's not a fine point like a Gundam marker that you would use for panel lining. So, what I've got here, the GNX striker kit that we just reviewed. I've got some parts scattered around here, the rest of the kit's over here. I'm just going to give a quick rundown on what we're doing. We're going to add some color to the helmet, which I may never use again. Maybe a little to the side shield armor. The thruster, I didn't use the stickers, I left those off because I was going to do it, but this piece in here is actually meant to be a lighter green sticker, so I'll add some colour in there. The tiny face had a sticker on it before, but there's actually a, you can see there's an X shape across there. Possibly recolour the front armour of the skirt there. Just in the helmet, those are meant to be purple stickers where those, pieces are missing there. The foot and the hand, basically wherever there's a point to the end of the armors, there's these circles here. I guess like a power symbol or power flowing through the armor, something like that. As well as the thruster on the front of the knee. We'll give some color to. And possibly some on the weapon as well. So what I've selected is just a few colors. You get yellow, white, blue, red, and a gray, almost like a metallic look in the this here. So let's crack out the. Yeah, we'll go for the metallic first. And what I'll do a couple in front of you right here. I highly recommend having as well some paper towel, some Q-tips, or cotton bud. You can get those from, hobby store specified ones like Tamiya, or you can actually just go to your local supermarket and for a few dollars pick up like 400, because I go through these things at a rapid rate when cleaning up enamel paints, when I touch up stuff. As well as I've got a bit of just generic lacquer thinner for tidy up, because being the size of these tips, you are going to overrun if you're trying to do it like I am in a tight space. You probably will hit the rest of the panel, and what you want to do is clean that off. So that's why we've got the Q-tips and some thinner. Pouring the thinner in and dipping the Q-tip in, I use something like that. Now, I saw a video once where you can basically tip these things up, you press down into this paint container, get some run out, and then you can use a brush to apply it, because it's just paint in a pen, really. But I've also read somewhere that it'll dry quite quickly, so you might end up drying on your brush, drying in your container, and then it's a pain to clean up. If you have something like this, I would recommend doing that. This leveling thinner is a thinner for paint, but it also has a paint retarder, a thinning retarder in there. And what that does, I use this when I'm airbrushing because it's quite warm here in Australia 99% of the time. you can actually then delay the drying process. So you could add a few drops of that in there to stop the paint from drying in the container or on the brush. But this is a pretty simple demo, and most people won't have that sort of stuff sitting at home because you don't airbrush, you don't, whatever. We'll just keep it so little thinner, little cleaning products, and the markers, and that's a good way to start out. I skipped that, guys, completely. I started on a few little enamels, some spray cans, and then went straight to full airbrush because I just felt committed. But each their own. You could also use as well the Tamiya masking tape. Comes in all various sizes, and that way you wouldn't actually overshoot. But I think that's probably enough shaking now. Let's get this out, shall we? All right. So first one I'm going to do is the binder on the back of the... So what you do, as far as I'm aware, you get this and you push down. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. Now it's going to be kind of hard because I'm using a grey on green, but that's why I'm using my white desktop in the background here. Maybe I can use this. Here we go. So I've coloured in the binder, and there we go. It still looks kind of wet, but it's you need to push a little to allow the paint to flow while you're doing this. And then what I'm doing at the moment is I'm actually just pushing a little to get the paint to flow, letting a little come out, and then spreading it with the nib. Now, I have been told only go in one direction when doing this, because you don't want like streak marks, like you've gone multiple directions. Now, if we flip over and do the other side, and this is probably not a bad area to be doing it on because I've actually got a raised surface to trace there. It's actually going out really well. I've never used these things before, heard of them, saw them in an anime once and thought they looked really cool to try. That was Beginning Gundam, Gunpla Builders G, it was called. And the main stars, kind of, or the main protagonist is, just doing up his Gundam with these marker things. And it was really interesting, I thought, because I was brand new to Gundam. Now, this isn't one of my typical kits because you can see I haven't even seam lined where the binder joins up there. But I'm doing it nice and simple for most people at home. If you're just starting out, you wouldn't want to do that. So let's get my cap back on here. There you go. So I've now got like a dark green binder, and I've used a metallic, it's a semi-metallic, like a gunmetal grey marker. That's interesting. I didn't know that one was there. And yeah, it's now given it a level of detail. It's not a sticker, it's actually paint. So what we're going to do is I'm going to allow that to dry. We'll just leave it sitting over there. What's another one I could try? Let's go for the blue. Okay, hopefully that's enough. I was shaping that one before, so let's just there we go. All right, so what we'll do here, we will just go down. And because I tested this one earlier, the paint is actually like free flowing more out of this one than the previous. Okay. Alright. So there we go. We have a focus. We have a blue power symbol. Now that's going to need to dry a little. So what I'm going to do a few more bits now and come back and show you when they're dried. Alright, back in a minute.
A few moments later.
Alright guys, I'm finished with the Gundam markers. Now, not perfect. This is my first time using them, so I expect you would probably have some sort of similar problems that I had. Cleaning up was quite painful. What I would say is about these markers, they're basically, like I said, a container filled with lacquer paint. You shake them up, you then tip them upside down, and when you press on the nib, you've got to be very careful to only push ever so slightly for a drop of paint to come out, and then you spread it with the nib. Now, that's fine if you're working in a surface like the blue parts down here, because that is kind of like a hole with a like a border, like a gully around it. So the paint catches in it, and that's fine. Same within the hands there. But when you get to the back, where I did the sorry, I'm just trying a new photo booth. So yeah, if you do this part here on the backpack, there's actually nothing to stop it from just cascading right off, and I had to clean up this whole section here. Same with that part in the back of the head is a gully, that's fine. You wipe over the edges, clean it. These parts just run straight out. So Gundam markers, I would say, if you've never painted before and you want to add some details to your kit, little highlights, you know, one place it worked terrifically well was the where it should be a light green sticker. I just used the gunmetal grey metallic type marker, that one, and you know, gave it some dark details on the binders, I guess you would say, the ones that come off. I think they rotate and spin like a shield, a blocking device. Yeah, they're fine. That works perfectly. The red, blue, white, no. These are obviously not the best colors too. This is the basic set. So if you had a standard Gundam, a white GM, something like that, you wanted to add some detail to, perfect. Green kit, not so much. But there are like varying sets of these things. You can get now seed markers, IBO markers, you know, there's all types matching the colors of those kits of that series. But these red lines I put on the helmet probably stand out a fair bit more than the purple stickers that would have come with it. Let's just take that off and I can show you the head. So what I did here was I took off the little purple sticker. I used the red to highlight that. And then there's a separate piece between the head, let's move the beam saber, and the top of the horn. That little piece inside there that's white now is actually another piece. I just covered that all and let it dry. No cleaning there on that piece because it was solidly done. And you know what, that gives it a nice little look, white, red. Yeah, it's not too bad. The blue symbols I just had to do because I had to try and use a different color marker. So yeah, the color of this kit aside, they don't match. They can be easy to use. Cleaning up, like I said, if you've got some Q-tips, some lacquer thinner, and some paper towel, probably not too bad. Overall, I would probably give these markers a 6 out of 10. Good if you're not a painter. I now airbrush, I hand paint detail with enamel paint, so instead of on these parts here, I wouldn't use the a red Gundam marker. I have I have white, black, red, gunmetal, gold, silver, brown. I have all sorts of little jars of paints you could hand detail this stuff in with. But for the Gundam markers, Not a bad job. My cleaning up leaves a little to be desired. I'll probably end up repainting this whole kit. But yeah, for you guys out there, if you want to try yourself a little bit of detail painting, a little bit of touching up, you sanded the surface a bit too hard and you can't get it back in that color smooth. Well, I wouldn't recommend painting whole sections. Just fine detail areas. Yeah, definitely give it a crack. We'll leave the link to the product for Banzai Hobby in the description. They're not too expensive for your first foray into painting and detailing. I think it's worth a crack. So, thank you very much for this watching this review and tutorial, I guess almost. Leave a like, follow on the YouTube channel, and as always, have a great day. Bye.